Hello, everyone. So give me 1 second here as I get things situated. That's not what I'm looking for. I thought I was ready, but I'm not. Okay. Where is that window that I'm looking for? Let's try this over here, looking under windows. Interview, that's what I'm looking for. Copied. Send this link. Oh my goodness, there's never enough room on my screen for all this stuff. In the meantime, you guys get to chime in and say hello. All right, let's see. And send. Sent. And you guys can tell me how audio sounds. Make sure it's not terrible or that it's perfect or whatever. And let me keep closing things on my computer so we don't lag. Not first. Paul. Hi, Andrea. Thanks for being here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I forgot that I need over here. I left the tank blue this time. I didn't like the way it looked last time. So, dog is speaking. We are awaiting Lisa, hopefully. And audio looks good on this side. I haven't seen her microphone yet. Okay, good. Thanks, James. I'm going to let you look at the tank for a second while I step aside. All right, how's my hair? Does it look okay? John, welcome to the live stream. Okay, so while we are waiting for her to arrive, wait, I see something here. Nope, that's not her. That's a different Lisa. Oh, I said Lisa, I got to change this. Oh, I need to change this. I have the wrong name on the title. Dang it. All right. Hello. Okay, let me do something here. I can see you. And I'm going to put you on the left, I guess. There you are. All right, so can we hear you? Oh, I hear you. That's good. That's a good sign. How are you?
Okay. I'm good.
Right. So I already called you the wrong name. We haven't even started yet, and I've put in the title. Her name is Lisa.
Oh.
So her name is Kim.
Smile and nod.
We're going to go with Lisa for the whole hour, and she's having to do a legal name change after this because it's official. But
got it.
Yeah. I don't know how it leads on the brain. Okay, so the point of this live stream today, I got a chance to talk with Kim's husband recently. His name is Eric. Got that right? And right. He was telling me about what it's like to be a fisherman in Hawaii and what they're doing these days to try and get their jobs back. And I was like, man, this sounds really fascinating. I want to get you on the show. And let's actually talk about what it's like to do all that and then talk about whatever else you want. And then he says, well, you got to talk to my wife. So we are going to talk to Kim instead. So Kim Koch is our guest today, and she is from the lower part of the main island of Hawaii. And we are just going to get to know her and kind of learn about her. Now, she is a hobbyist herself and has been in the hobby for 22 years. And so it's not like we're just talking to some random person that scoops fish out of the ocean.
Right.
Kim, do you actually do the fishing yourself, or are you more oversight?
Long ago, I did fishing. It's not diving like a vacation. It's man's work. Like, honestly, like, it's grueling, 4 tanks a day. It's not going to the resort. They, have your tanks on the boat and they serve you a Mai Tai when you're done. So after I had kids, I kind of regress to land-based activities. But yeah, it's it's all hands on deck just to get everything done when we are fishing.
Okay. I'm going to keep asking you questions. Don't worry. I'm not going to leave you on the spot. I really would like to understand a day in the life. I mean, that's kind of how I'd like it. Like, what time do you start? I know we're going back in time too, because you're not currently doing it because there are no permits, correct?
Correct. So, a day in the life of a fisherman is weather. You wake up, you check the weather.
before you go too far, I want to start at the very beginning. So, like,
Okay.
what time does their day start? Is it like a 5 a.m. thing? Is it 11 a.m.? When do you actually, when is the good time of day? Let's just try to picture your normal work week. Because none of us know how this works. All of
Yeah.
us go to the fish store and look in an aquarium, and there it is. So I would love to know, just like the gritty details of what is involved in the process when you start, what you're loading up, what you're taking with you, what you can't take because you're worried it's going to be stolen off the boat while you're underwater, whatever. Tell me all that.
Well, obviously you get up, you check the weather. Earlier is better.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're forced to go out in ugly weather, 10-foot, 12-foot seas. I mean, it's not Walmart where we can go and pull the fish off the shelves. Think about how hard it is to catch a fish in your fish tank. Now imagine that with unlimited
Base.
walls. Yeah, it's so it's not optimal conditions, and you've got orders to fill. So everybody expects, hey, I need my fish or my shipment on this date, and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to play with that. So if weather's not pretty, you kind of have to go out anyways. So early typically, check the weather, have a bowl of Wheaties,
Mm-hmm.
pack some lunch, get your
Yeah.
coffee,
Mm-hmm.
load the boat, hope and pray your scuba bottles still have air in them from
Uh-huh.
when you got them filled, and you set out, and hopefully you find clean water.
And how deep would you be looking typically?
Um, you know, it can range. It depends on, what you're targeting. It can be anywhere from 60 to, 150 feet.
Oh, okay. So you're not ever in the shallow areas like 15, 20, 30 feet. It's really 60 and lower.
Yeah, primarily. Shallow water, especially here, it's kind of a refuge for our breeding size fish. We do have slot limits in place on
Mm-hmm.
the whole West Hawaii Island, the west side of Hawaii Island. And those slot limits were put in place to protect the breeders. So
Mm-hmm.
as the primarily yellow tangs, as they get in the 4.5-inch range,
Mm-hmm.
they start climbing up to the shallows.
Mm.
So it's a natural refuge, anyways.
Oh, okay.
So you just kind of leave them there to ensure breeding stocks are plentiful.
Yeah. What's a slot limit?
So a slot limit is a size range, and for the west side of the Big Island, about 8 years ago, we implemented a slot limit on several species, but the yellow tang was between 2.5 and 4.5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to allow anything when it hits breeder size to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
And, the lower half of that limit was implemented to ensure, you know, the industry is getting a meaty fish, not these little tiny wafer thin, low survivability. We wanted to deliver good products. So
Mm-hmm.
management was, a combination of science and reality.
Mm-hmm. Now, would a slot? I mean, I'm trying to understand it. A slot. Are you like saying I can fit the fish through this slot? Is that what we're talking
No,
about?
it's a slot in a sense. If it's smaller, you let it go, and
Mm-hmm.
if it's larger, you let it go. So you're really targeting that ideal size.
Okay.
And coincidentally, the hobby enjoys that size. It's a good size for your average reef system.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you ever how do I see? Okay, I like tiny fish. I mean, I'm a huge fan. But when you're out there collecting, and you were collecting with a net, correct? Back
correct,
then,
it's all net caught in Hawaii.
right? So when you were collecting with a net, and you're underwater, you're at 60 feet. You've got plenty of air, so you have time to do what you got to do. You're looking through the net, and you're like, "This is too small," and you set it free, and then this one is the right size, and you put it in something different, or how? I'm trying to understand what it's like.
So say you have a school of fish in your net. It's kind of like a carpenter. You get accustomed to sizing.
Mm-hmm.
A 2-inch size, whether you use a metric on your finger, or
Uh-huh.
you become pretty savvy at it.
Yeah.
So you know the ideal size you're targeting, and at that point, you don't do anything. You just let them go.
Okay. So I'm picturing on your arm, you finally have a tattoo that looks like a ruler, so you can put the fish against it.
That's a good
It's the
good
only tattoo in my life I've ever
recommendation.
thought of that's useful.
Let's
Okay.
not tell management that. I'm scared of needles.
Um, Now, when you've caught some fish, how many do you want before you come back to the surface? As a diver.
You know, it honestly depends on conditions. If there's a lot of surge
Mm-hmm.
or dirty water,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you try to be efficient. The good thing about the Hawaii fishery is that we have zero bycatch. So, like you were saying, what do you do with the fish you don't want, whether they be
Right.
size or species? You can turn those right away.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to say the more the merrier, but most fishermen go out with a plan, whether that be, hey, I need to ship X customer this amount on Friday,
Yeah.
and how you allocate that and, divvy that up with your diving schedule is just, kind of variable, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's called fishing and not catching.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm an advanced open water scuba diver. What type of diver is normally a fisherman?
um, you start with obviously your advanced open water, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fishermen anywhere in the world, you're doing 3 to 4 dives a day, 4, maybe 5 dives a week, weather permitting.
Yeah.
So you're at the point of you're a commercial fisherman. You're spending quite a bit of time underwater.
Okay.
You
I
could be
guess what I
at
meant
that point
was,
a dive master.
would they be tech divers then, where they have two tanks down there with them, or is it like literally just one tank on your back, like a hobbyist diver?
Everybody has their I guess methods. It's like anything you do. Some people have extra air tanks. Some of them hang, a bottle off the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Some people use nitrox. You've got those guys that go down to like the 300-400 foot range. They've got the rebreather. So
Yeah. Oh,
it's
that'd be awesome.
a wide spectrum of tools used, and
Yeah.
it's really up to the individual.
Gotcha. And I've got a friend who can somehow stay underwater much longer than everyone else on the boat. She just barely breathes or breathes so slow or so shallow, and her tank will last her an hour and a half, where we're like burned up in 40 minutes or less because we got excited and just hyperventilated,
Yeah,
I
you
guess.
were going through it.
So I assume fishermen, because I mean this is literally what you do every day. You're so used to it. You're so comfortable. I guess you have long dive times too, as well, right?
Um, you would assume so. And I've seen some big guys that are, 6'3", 6'4", have better bottom time than, even someone my size. I'm
Oh,
5'2". So it just kind of, like you were saying, some people just kind of have the natural ability to conserve their air, and
yeah.
they've got gills instead of lungs, I guess.
Okay, so they've got some fish. Oh, by the way, you did say you had like to fill, or you everything's past tense. Okay, I just want to make sure
Yeah,
everyone's understanding. We're not doing anything
exactly.
illegal here. When you were doing this, you mentioned you had to fill orders. So you're not just looking in the ocean for certain fish and hoping to sell them. You literally are looking for this many yellows and a coral beauty and a this, or I mean, you have a shopping list you're taking down basically mentally.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. You froze for a second.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for you to come back. Sorry, guys. We are waiting for her to come back. Kim, you're frozen. Dang it. Let's see. I'm gonna open my little chat with her and let her know. Ah, here she's coming back. Oh, that's weird. All right, let me do this, and then we'll add her on the side here. All right, let's try that again. I was actually about to type to you and say, you're frozen.
I think so. Well, hit refresh. I have kids and they could be hopping on the Xbox. You know how that goes. But yeah, the fishermen really, go out with a purpose. It's not just go and take everything you think you need.
Yeah,
It's pretty meticulous. You go out with a shopping list, I
yeah.
guess.
Okay, and then what kind of a fish might you say we better not take this while you're underwater? You're sitting there looking at what you have. Like, what if you, I mean, I don't know. Do you see one that you think, oh, this one's carrying eggs? Set it free. I mean, I don't know. Something like that. Does that happen?
Not necessarily. I think species wise, you run into situations where you're like, I shouldn't take that fish. One, because it could be illegal to take, primarily, and two, we really target fish that are good reef inhabitants. So you're not going to go and grab a giant trigger or some.
We may need to tell your kids to quit playing Xbox. They're stealing our bandwidth. Let's see what happens here. All right, guys, we're kind of stuck here for a moment. Believe it or not, I did ask about how will we do and will we have a wired signal and we're going to be good and connected. So barring storms or something like that, I thought we'd be good to go. I will have to just kind of fill in some voids here when we lose her from time to time, apparently. And I'm hoping that she will just tell everyone in the household, stay off the system. Just give me the wire for right now. I'm going to need it for the next hour for our live stream. All right, she's coming back again. All right, you're going to put your foot down and tell everyone, get off the Wi-Fi. No one can use it for anything but you. Oh, no, come on. And you see, the thing is, she told me that, she's doing these Zooms all the time. So she was pretty sure nothing would go wrong. These kids. Yeah, just yell at your kids.
Me? Okay. Hold on. Are you on the internet? Internet. No Xboxes. Okay, thank you. Bye. Sorry
That's
about
funny.
that.
I never thought of that when I was telling
kids.
you, okay, we want a hardwired connection. You're like, I'm good to go. I never thought about you having to share it with anybody. So hopefully we'll be all right here and get back into it. Dang video games. I know. Everyone's in the live chat going, we get it. So hopefully we'll get back on track. We started off so strong, so good. Oh no. One person is suggesting we only do audio, but that's no fun. I don't even know how I can do that. I've never tried that before. I don't even know if that'll work. All right, so she will be back here again in a moment. I was unprepared for this eventuality. All right. All right, let's try it again.
Sorry. We're in a windstorm right now, so if this doesn't work, I'll go outside, hop on the cell phone, and call back in.
Okay, all right. Well, that's another alternative that could work. Other than that, okay, so we were talking about, I've lost our whole train of thought. We were talking about the fact that you go down with a shopping list to find what you're looking for. I did not know about windstorms in Hawaii. I was worried about lava. I don't know. I think we're going to lose her again. This is not playing out as I'd hoped, y'all. Welcome to live TV. While we're waiting, I'll talk about the reef for a minute. I've been keeping an eye on the sea bay. I'll put myself full screen for the moment while we're waiting for her. And the sea bay was drooping down and looked miserable yesterday, and now today it's on top and it's looking healthy and happy. So I say healthy, I'm healthier. So we're going to see what happens. There's no absolute guarantee that it will recover fully. If it were not to, I will get a new anemone, a different kind I've ever had before, hopefully. I want to ask Joe for one of his gorgeous ones in the Long Island Aquarium, and I want to see if maybe we could consider doing that. That would be awesome. But I still have to see if he'll even agree to it. I have not done a water test yet today, so while we are filling voided time, I want to emphasize today is water test Saturday. Please do test your water. Don't just listen to me, just actually do it. You want to test alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, phosphate, nitrate, and what else? She may be on her phone now. Let's see what happens here. I wonder if I do this, we'll get a black square. Can we hear you, though? I hear nothing so far. I really need like a little face to put in the black box. Of course, if we get her audio and she's still talking comes through, I can just make it full screen of me so you're not having half a screen black. Kim, are you there? This is what happens when you call someone Lisa. It messes everything up. I don't know. Let's see what happens here. And so I was saying, test your water today. We want to make sure everything's right. Regarding my own water, I haven't checked it yet. I checked it a week ago. I check every single Saturday. And that is how I make adjustments on my system if there's anything that needs to be corrected. I did mix up a new batch of salt water. And somehow, even with my system of keeping track of how much salt I added, I apparently made a mistake and added an entire bucket. And when I say bucket, it's a cute little bucket of 12 pounds of too much salt in there. And my salinity in my saltwater barrel right now is 45 ppt instead of 35 ppt. So I will be probably doing a small water change on the reef, maybe like 30 gallons, and work on the sand bed and, you know, like inside the horseshoes that I like to clean out. And then after that's done, I can go ahead and add some RODI water to the vessel to get salinity down, you know, to kind of dilute it down. And that's I mean, it's better than me just pouring water down the driveway. I don't really want to waste brand new salt water. Salt's not cheap. So I want to hang on to that. Come on, Kim. We want you back. I'll see if she's writing. That was I mean, the whole concept of catching fish from the ocean seems really interesting to me. Matter of fact, while I'm doing this, why don't I go fix her name on YouTube? I think I can edit the title. You guys are just gonna... This is unlike me editing everything in Final Cut Pro, you know? It says we're live. Let's see. I wonder if it'll let me do the edit I want to make. And last night I went ahead and I shared a whole bunch of different... Clody asked, what salt do you use? I'm using Aquavitro Salinity, and it's made by Seachem. And that's what I've been using for 5 or 6 years, maybe? So I'm going to fix her name on this thing, I hope. I hope it'll let me edit it. I may not be able to. Live now. Hang on. Oh, yes, I can. Good. Maybe, watch, this will be funny. As soon as I get the name corrected, the phone connection will probably work perfectly. All right, that's been fixed. Now we just need her to come back. Okay, here we go. Hello? Test, test, test. You know, it says in the green... Oh, let's try this. Does that work? No. This says a sign. Oh, that's kind of neat. Kim, can you hear me? It's a profile of a man. It should be a profile of a woman. That'd make more sense. Well, I don't hear you, Kim. And I should be able to hear you. Well, I can't. We can't. Let's see what's going on here. Change this back. And maybe if I just put her on the left anyway, maybe her audio will come on. Are you there? Say some words. What if we try this one? Hey, look, it's a woman profile. That's kind of cool. And now Jack's involved. All right, she's barking just a little bit less. All right, I don't know what's happening here. Sorry, I need things to work the way they're supposed to work, and when they don't work, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, oh no. Her husband says that she's in, but we're not hearing her, and we're definitely not seeing her. And I don't see a way to like insert an audio track. And now she's gone again. So. Sorry if I'm wasting your time, everyone. Let's see. There's probably one question I can answer here while I'm... Hello, are you there? So weird I don't hear anything. Well, I guess it's just not going to work out. We're going to have to do something different. Those of you that are in the chat, feel free to spit out topics you'd like me to discuss today, because we may have to fall back onto a emergency plan number 2. Because we are having a problem. And maybe it was the weather affected our interview. I would love to have her on, and Kim, if you're able to hear or see this, feel free to reach out and we can try this again. Or maybe we can just do an interview that's not live, and I'll edit it and release it onto YouTube later, and that way we can have a nice clean connection with no surprises, because that would be best. Other than that, yeah, if you guys have some suggestions for topics, I'd be happy to just tackle one now. In the meantime, I'm going to look at the chat and see what all you guys say. I will give you a quick update on my back. It's awful, but I took a hydrocodone, so I feel a little bit better today. So that's nice. I've actually been resisting the urge to take one all week long, even though it's just been getting gradually worse and worse. And finally this morning, I was like, that's it. Going for the big stuff. The spiritual counselor says, you clearly insulted the sea bay's honor by not letting it move where it wanted to, so it decided to use the vortex to commit seppuku, which I assume is another word for suicide. But no, it's looking okay-ish. When I talked with Dwayne about it yesterday, he suggested literally feeding the anemone, and that way it'll have a reason to fluff up. But my concern was maybe it can't fluff up because it's torn on one side that I'm not aware of, and water flows out, so it can't super inflate like it normally would because there's a hole in the inner tube, so to speak. But I'm not giving up on it. I'm just a little bit, a little nervous for it. So we'll just have to see what happens. And Eric says, keep up the food work. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the super chat. Oh, nope. Autocorrect. He meant good work. But I will get an interview with her and get it released. Also, I did an interview with Justin Credible. Yes, that is the name he goes by. And we did an entire topic on potassium, and that will be uploaded soon. And I also want to grab everything from Aquashella that I took pictures or video of and stick that as a video coming up. So you have a few things that are going to roll out probably this week, in addition to our normal daily content. Let's see. Clody says, I have a tank here that's been sitting for many months with dry rock and sand. Yes, you should add some water to it and get that thing going, because then you can start putting something in there. Sometimes people are looking forward to like a certain build, and so they hold off on having a tank at all. And I usually encourage them, set up something small now. Just get yourself a little something that makes you happy to fill that need. That way, if your big project is on hold or there's something that's interfering with the completion of it, you have a little salty something to enjoy for now. And I've mentioned that to a few different friends when they were in that spot, and they turn around like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy! I'm so glad you told me that because I still cannot do such and such." But they got to get the pleasure, the enjoyment of seeing little colorful fish swimming around, and adding new things to the tank and getting that excitement that we all so much enjoy. I saw some of the comments from last night's Reef Diary were really nice with the macro shots. And yes, the more I look in the tank, the more colorful it is. I was staring at the home wrecker, and I had someone told me initially, "Hey, your home wrecker's the wrong color. It's your lighting. It's your this. It's your that." And I just thought, well, it's just new to my tank. And so I've been watching closely because, I'd like it to be the right colors. And then that hot pink started showing up. I was like, oh, look at that. So I really think everything's on the right track. So hopefully everything will. By the way, this is a really big home wrecker. Doesn't cost as much. And I got that at Aquashella. There's something else I was going to tell you. It'll come back. Ryan, congratulations. You're about to have a frag. That is so awesome. Donnie says, is the tank actually there or is that green screen? No, that is literally my aquarium. And that is my yellow tang, and that is my Nassau. And this tank, I just did a video about this tank a couple days ago, the 8-year anniversary. I was up all night long editing that video to give you guys kind of a tour. Because once a year, I like to do a full tour of the tank and show exactly how everything looks at that point. And kind of cover what's changed in the last year. And I think I covered most everything. I'm sure there's a couple things I forgot to mention. But it's overall doing really well. And I feel like it can just keep moving forward. I do want to tell you guys about the new 60-gallon cube that's coming from Planet Aquarium. They had sent me a schematic of what it should look like, and they said if you have any changes or anything, write on here or draw, whatever you want to do, and then sign it and send it back. And so instead, I went into VCarve, which is the software I use with my CNC machine, and I did a top-down view of what the tank should look like. I think I have that where I can show you guys. On my desktop, maybe? This looks correct. Let me click it and see what it looks like before I send it to you. Oh, I opened up like everything. How did I do that? Oh my God. Now I've got like 96 pictures on my screen. I'll close this. And I'll close this. And I will close. I don't want that one. I just wanted one. Let's see if this works. All right, that worked. So this is the top-down view. I'll scooch over a little bit over here. This is the top-down view of what the tank should look like. 24 by 24, and it'll be 24 tall. There's going to be black trim around the base, so it may be a little smaller. It might be 23.5 square because they probably measure the outside of the trim rather than the glass itself. I am not doing rimless. I want to have the splash guard around the top. I call that Euro bracing. They call it splash guard. And I asked for 3 inches wide. They told me that they only carry 2.5. So it'll be 2.5. And then this upper left corner, this is against the wall that will be behind the aquarium. That will be a 3/4 inch bulkhead that will go right through my Euro brace, my splash guard, and then it'll elbow and the lock line will go forward to put flow in the tank. I didn't want to have a hole through the bottom. I definitely didn't want to have a hole in the back because I want it pretty close to the sheetrock. And I didn't want to have it stick out, I don't know, 4 inches from the wall to be able to accommodate the back of the bulkhead, and then the fact I have to glue a pipe into it. So I'm sure if I was a wizard that could do it exactly right, I could make a hole in the sheetrock exactly where the bulkhead is, and then drill from the other side exactly in the center, and then I could put the glue and solvent on my pipe and then push it through the sheetrock wall and into the bulkhead. But I'd rather just come in from above and come down into that bulkhead and then come out into the tank. It's not a matter of losing gallons per hour with a bunch of elbows. I feel like it'll be a clean look, and then when I put my canopy around it, you won't even see it anyway. And this will just kind of be a nice way to plumb it in that I think I'll like. The overflow box itself is very narrow. I think it can handle up to 800 gallons an hour, but I probably only be pushing through about 300 gallons an hour. There will be 2 drains on that overflow box. If you look here on this side, I'll scooch over a little bit there. You can see there's 2 holes. Those are 2 1-inch drains, and my plan is to use 1 drain for the tank, and then the other will be a completely open emergency drain. I don't know that any anemones will be able to get into this new overflow box, but if one were to obstruct the hole, hopefully the other one can take over and be noisy to draw my attention to it so I don't have a tank that's overflowing. That has happened several times this year. And I mean, I woke up from a dead sleep one night to hear the sound of the Niagara Falls, and I came running in the room, and I was, just like, you gotta be kidding me. And I was really mad, and Jack didn't know what to do with me. She was like, do I bark? And I had to reach through the waterfall to hit the power button to turn off the pump that was filling the tank. And I was like, this is insane. So in the end, I went ahead and I put in a really tall, what's called perforated pipe, which looks like, what does it look like? It's opaque. It is the shape of PVC pipe, but there's 1,000 holes in it. So if you're looking for something to use as a strainer, perforated PVC is, I believe, the name of it. And you can cut that to whatever length you need. And I put a really tall piece, so if there's an anemone here, there's all those holes to get water out of the tank and not ever have the tank overflow again. And there won't be room for that type of system in the new overflow box, but maybe I'll put a couple of risers with all the little holes. We'll see how it all works out. But the nice thing is that I get to go to Planet to film building the tank, to film how they drill the holes, and kind of show what's happening there. So we'll get a lot out of this other than just getting an aquarium. I get to actually show you some behind the scenes, which I think will be really, really cool. Okay, let me get back to the chat because I ask you for your opinions and then I don't even scroll down to see what it is. The meaning of life. Pass. There's got to be something else I can talk about. Mahmoud says, if my Apex is saying my return pump is using less wattage, does that mean the pump is clogged or needs to be cleaned, or is the power supply dying? It depends how much of the wattage has changed. You may have been used to a certain amount, like let's say it pulls 100 watts, and now it's pulling 40, or it's pulling 200. Something definitely needs to be investigated to see what's going on. But you could have a small variance, and as the pump gets dirty, yes, it may have a change in wattage. My pumps, I only check a couple of numbers because I never think about it. But then occasionally I'm like, oh yeah, how much does this pull? Or I'll get a notification, like you said, from the Apex that says Vortec number 1 is using less power than what it normally should. And then I come over and I look, and there's 2 halves. It's separated. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And I can go ahead. And that's how I discovered when they were separating originally. When I got that brand new one, and every 30 minutes I looked at it and it was apart, it was because I got a notification. But yeah, so I would definitely check the pump, see if you need to clean it, and then watch the wattage. You may need to make an adjustment to not get that notification again. You may have to find that sweet spot. John says, how's the new shop building coming along? So, first of all, we're giving it a name because everyone keeps wanting to call it something. Originally, I kept saying I'm building a new workshop, and that has become confusing to others. So it is now the studio, and it'll be my acrylic studio. And in this building, I will be building my custom orders for my customers, and I will also box up all the orders out there instead of doing it all inside my living room. And that'll be really nice. I will be going to work, and then I will be coming home each day. My commute, oh my God, it's going to be awful. But I'm excited about it. I'm sure there's going to be a few things that are going to be a little different than I'm used to. I mean, if I box the orders out there, I have to basically come through my home to get to the car to go to FedEx and the post office to drop off packages. And, depending on what the weather is, that could be a whole other thing too. But I just love the idea of getting all that done out there and no longer in here. So currently, the slab is done, the building is done, the foam is done. That was the foam insulation. I did not know about, I knew about foam insulation, but I didn't know a lot about it. And I've seen some, really nice modern homes that have like this foam sprayed on the ceiling, the stuff that looks like great stuff. And everyone kept saying it's really expensive. And I kept thinking, well, it's just a little tiny building. It can't be that bad. And it was terrible. It was so expensive. And I literally think I got 5 different quotes trying to find one that was reasonable because I felt like everyone's trying to rip me off. I just like, how can it be this much money? And my best quote was $3,250. 3250. And I just thought, that is insane. There's no way the insulation costs that much money for this little 20 by 20 building. And, because people said, I did my whole house, it's 1,600 square feet and I only paid this much. Granted, COVID has changed the price of things and, the lack of products has made things more expensive and blah, blah, blah. But still, I just felt like, no, I'm being overcharged. This is 4 walls, nothing in your way. It's literally an empty building. You're not crawling in an attic. You're not trying to make it across the joist and not fall through the ceiling. I mean, this should be easy by comparison to crawling into someone's attic and doing all that work. But my best deal was over $3,000 for that. So that was done, and they put 2 inches of the foam on all the walls and the ceiling. I told them I wanted super insulated because I want to have AC and heat in there, and I don't want to lose it. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to come back later saying, let's put more. Let's just do it right from the beginning. Now, the reason I didn't just use the pink stuff, the Pink Panther fluffy insulation that you stick between studs, number one, the building's made of metal, and there's no studs yet. There is just like these metal upright ribs that are only 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. So they're the pocket is narrow, and the distance between those uprights is 57 inches. So it's not even like I have a 24-inch or a 16-inch spot to put in sheets. There was no way to keep it in place. And you can't staple it to those metal pipes, and they're too far apart. So, and then the worst thing is, and this is, I kept reading and reading and reading, is that metal buildings will sweat because of temperature differential. And that's why you don't use that type of fiberglass insulation, and you want to get the spray foam that literally glues to the metal and creates this barrier so it can't sweat. So I was committed to getting it. I just didn't like to pay for it. And I did. I paid too much. I really expected, honestly, I mean, I thought this was probably going to be $1,500, maybe $2,000. And I thought, that's a lot, but okay. And it'll be great. And it'll be good for 20 years. It'll just, done. But the lowest quote was $32,000. I got a quote of over $5,000. And I was like, man, there's no way. What is happening out there? So at this point, the next step is for me to go to Home Depot and get 60 2x4s or more and start putting up studs so that all the wiring can be run for the outlets, for the air conditioner and heater, for the television, because that is my company. I also will be running Ethernet cable out there to have a good, strong signal. And I'm also going to run I believe I'm going to bury some pipe from where the compressor is currently to bring in an air hose into the workshop, so I don't have the compressor in there making all that noise when I'm working in the studio. So that will all be coming together, and we'll just have to see what happens. For now, my plan was, I think I can get in there by the end of the month, but now I don't believe it. I don't know. I just don't. And once the studs are up and the electrical's done, then I have to have a sheetrocker come in and put sheetrock on all of it. And doing the ceiling will be really difficult because, again, the metal pipes are so far apart that I've got to find a way to fix the 2x4s, and it's 19 plus feet across. There's just nothing simple about it compared to regular construction. So I already had a couple of people say quit thinking about it, just start, and they're probably right, but I still feel like there's some areas that are just like so difficult because there's no hard corners you can find because the foam has made it round. And so I kind of have to work this. I have to puzzle it together. And I don't like doing things when I can't figure it out first. If it makes sense in my brain, I'll just move forward. But This one here has kind of got me going, and I'm just going to have to do the best I can with what I got. And we'll see how it all turns out. I will release a video also about how the metal building went up, and it's going to go to, well, as I promised, it's going to go to the members of this channel first, and then there'll be probably an abbreviated version of that video or something, some different version of it that'll go public for everybody. But I haven't had a chance to work on that yet. Hey, Steve, I don't want to throw you completely under the bus, but Ryan said, I'm going to be a daddy, and you wrote back, well done. What do you mean by well done? Are you saying he did it right? That just made me laugh. Actually, I love to tease people when they announce they're pregnant. I said, okay, we get it. You have proof you've had sex once in your life. So Terry says, are you going to be moving all the anemones over to the new tank or just a few and start over? I will be moving over the bulk, but everything that's on the walls, that is not going in there. That's going to be fresh. So the tank will be clean on all four sides. The back of the tank will have vinyl on it, so it looks black. And initially, I asked them to put vinyl down the side where the overflow box is, but I've decided, no, I'm not going to do that because I know the way I am, and I'm going to want to stick my head in that corner, which would be under the microwave and over the kitchen counter to look in there and see little critters in the back. I just know I am. And if I have vinyl there to like just make it look visually pretty, I'll probably be like, dang it, I can't see back there. So I decided for now, no vinyl. If later on I decide I absolutely do need vinyl there, I will find a way to slide some in there. But I think I'm going to like it exposed. So initially, we'll actually see a little bit of the plumbing coming out of the bottom of the box and turning. But I just decided that would look, I can live with that. But I would be annoyed if I can't see in the back corner of the tank with all that new space. The new tank with that tiny overflow box will be so much nicer than what I have right now, where I have that huge overflow box that is probably 8 inches long and 6 inches wide and is a full tower. So a big chunk of the tank is taken away. And the new tank, I get all that space. So that'd be really nice. John says, call the Studio 1.026. That's pretty cool. I like that. And yeah, I look forward to seeing it finished and operating as well. I like the idea of being able to take the work tables that I'll have in there for building. I want to start building things in mass. I want to make 10 of this and 10 of that at a time, and I'll have the ability to do that in the new building. And that will allow me also, if I have someone order something custom that's kind of large, my plan will be to bring 2 tables together to make one large surface so I can make that big SOM pour, maybe even build tanks, and then I'll be able to build bigger tanks. Michael says, is it safe to drill 2 holes in a tank that's set up with coral in it? Actually, we don't recommend that, but let's just kind of flesh it out. If the tank is made of glass or if it's made of acrylic, that's going to differentiate how you're going to drill it. If it's acrylic, you can use a hole saw. If it's glass, you need to use a diamond tip hole saw. And normally, we want to drill straight down into the surface. So our tank would be empty, it would be outside, and we would go ahead and mark where the holes are going to be, and then we would very slowly drill through the surface. Trying to drill through a tank that's set up through the side makes it very, very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. And if you're trying to drill a tank indoors, it's very, very loud, because a glass tank, because as it's cutting through, it just resonates and it's ear-breaking. And then you have to constantly put water on it. Now, I've seen some people that literally have done this, where they've drilled a hole in the side of their tank, and they had someone with a spray bottle squirting water on the hole the whole time, where normally if it's outside, you just have running water pouring across the tank as you're drilling, because the water helps to basically flush away the bits of glass and even acts a little bit like a lubricant as it's cutting. And it can take 5 minutes or so to cut one hole through a piece of glass. It's only about 40 seconds to a minute with acrylic, so it's a lot quicker. The thing is that like you were saying, well, what about the corals inside, the livestock? That's the other problem. So if you were to lower the water level in the tank quite a bit, then you could put your holes above it, but you may have shavings and stuff falling in the tank, and so you may want to put something on the inside to catch that stuff. But normally we just don't recommend doing it in an existing setup. It's just much easier to do it outside and not have livestock involved in the process at all. But I understand why you would ask that question. So I hope that kind of helps a little bit. You'll definitely have to give it some thought. Dean says, have you heard about lanthanum chloride building up in the reef tank? No, and matter of fact, I have been using lanthanum chloride for over a decade in my tanks. And when I do an ICP test, my lanthanum in my tank measures lower than what's found in Fiji, which is pretty amazing to me. You would think it would build up, but it does not. Now, I am dosing it either into my sump or I dose it in my tank. It doesn't seem to make a difference. The protein skimmer takes it out. A 10 micron sock will also capture the flocculant. And then as you clean the glass, because it'll look a little cloudy, you'll see all this white like dust coming off, and that also is taken up by your filtration. But I have not encountered any kind of buildup personally, and I've used Phosphate RX, I've used Phosphate Control, I've used Phosbuster Pro, and I have used Phosban L from Two Little Fishies, which is their very concentrated lanthanum chloride, and had no problems whatsoever. I mean, it is literally the only way I control phosphate in my tank is lanthanum chloride. I just choose to use Phosphate RX because it is the easiest of all the choices on the market, and I just count drops and I'm done. And if I have to do it once a month, once every 8 weeks, once every 10 weeks, and it takes me one whole minute to put these drops in, I'm good to go. So I'm very glad that I'm not having to deal with, dealing with GFO and all that. This is what I've been doing forever. Preston says, what are your thoughts on the yellow tang ban? Do you treat yours like $1 million too? I'm annoyed at the ban because, and that was some of the stuff we were going to talk about with Kim. And so when I get back with her and we film an interview privately and then I upload it, we'll get her thoughts on it. But of all the places on the planet for them to install a ban, is that the right term? To enforce a ban makes no sense. Hawaii is the best example of sustainable capture of fish and not affecting the population. And for them to be shut down is just mind-blowing because all the data prove that we have not decimated the population. There's even more now than before, and that was completely ignored. The court that made the decision literally ignored it, and I don't understand how that's even possible. I mean, that's the whole point. You present facts in court, the judge says, clearly this is okay, approved, keep going. And for them to shut it down, it was obviously some kind of an emotional issue on that island. Think about it. We like the yellow tang because it's pretty. And we like to see them in the ocean, and we like to see them in our aquarium. And that's as far as it goes. For them, it's like a whole other, and for them, I mean them being Hawaiians, they look at it as their world, their belongs in their ocean, doesn't belong in aquariums at all. And it so becomes an emotional argument rather than a factual one. And so I'm very upset that it happened, and I wish it had not. And I'm shocked it hasn't been undone by now. And I know there are still some that are fighting to try and get things back to the way it was because there are millions of yellow tangs there. And so we'll see, with Kim's conversation with me, what kind of information we can glean of what's going on now. But the thing is, they tackled Hawaii, and I hear the next attack will be Florida. And if they can lock down Florida, sky's the limit. I mean, think about it. As these crusaders continue to say, oh, these poor animals, they're being so maligned, they've been so mistreated, it will just cause more and more problems. And it's a real issue. And then, the thing is, you might say, well, this sucks for the hobby, but they're not going to stop at fish. Once they've got this under control, then what's next? Dogs and cats? I mean, they will just work their way across anything because they are just like all animals first, no matter what. And it's just a whole thing. It's just ridiculous. So I don't mean ridiculous. I mean, it's frustrating. And we'll have to see where this all plays out. But for now, we see a lot of things happen over time. And I was watching a TV show last night where this vampire was talking and said, I've been around for 1,000 years. And I was just thinking in my head, living 1,000 years, you would see a lot of change, and you could kind of understand why vampires always look like they're bored, like they've seen it all, they've heard it all, there's nothing new to them. And they were always kind of like, oh, yeah, 500 years ago I dealt with that. Let me just bite you and suck your blood and kill you. I mean, it's like, they're so matter of fact. It's like they've just seen it all. And where we live for 60, 80 years, and where it's like, oh, I remember what it was like 20 years ago, or your grandparents, I remember what it was like 60 years ago. And, it is different now. But to live 1,000 years, that'll be kind of, I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great. I'd love it. But it's just one of those weird things that went through my head. All right. Talk about going off topic. Let's see. This thing scrolled on me. Jam says, I haven't caught a live stream in a while, or caught a live stream live in a while, so these leaves can be raked another day. I agree with you, so I'm glad you came to join us. Bill wants to know where Kim is. I don't know. She hasn't called back. I didn't see any more texts come in, so maybe their internet got disconnected. Maybe that storm was a little bit more than we expected. But I can tell you this. They are doing something different just to make ends meet right now. And I was waiting for her to reveal that in the conversation. But it's not fishing. And, you get it. If you have a job and then suddenly that job is... think about this. With everything that's happened with COVID in the last, almost 2 years now, there were places where people had jobs. And those places are gone. They are shuttered. They could not afford to pay their utilities and their lease. And they're just gone. And those people that had jobs there, they've lost their job. And these fishermen in Hawaii, that was their job. Like she said, they're going at 4 tanks of air a day. That's basically like 8 dives, basically, as far as I know. And to suddenly have that just taken away, and you can't do it at all. Literally, it's just 100%. Yesterday you were working, today you are out of a job. You got to do something else to pay your bills. And living in Hawaii is not cheap. John says you could make a cover for the overflow area with Velcro to the outside of the tank and then remove it to take a peek. I agree. Something like that would be nice. Jam says, now that you have your nitrates under control, has the hammer stopped shedding heads? How is the hammer coral doing? The Frammer is doing great. Matter of fact, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago on Reef Diary, I showed a nice close-up of those, and you see a bunch of babies. So that's really, really cool. And yeah, I have not had any more losses, no more what basically was like brown jelly disease that would just randomly attack one polyp and then another one way over here and then a random one over here, and it was just losing one after another for over a period of months. And I just couldn't put my finger on it. And you would think if there was a problem and it was like a disease, it would spread straight across and just take out everything in its path. And instead, it was just like sporadic spots in a big grouping. So I have way less than I did before, but everything in the tank is really healthy. And I'm really loving that right now. Dean says, do you have any idea how to stop fish nipping at Meliopora coral? Get rid of the fish. That's the simplest solution. You really can't untrain a fish to eat something. The only thing you could possibly do is distract it with more food. Like if a fish is being well fed and knows the food is coming, it may be less prone to nip at certain things in your tank, but certain fish are also known to nip at corals. And that's why we tend to look for reef-safe fish. We're looking for fish that we can put in that will not eat certain corals. And that's why we can't just get anything. Like, for example, Caitlin's favorite fish was the lemon peel. And I don't know anything about the fish. I've never looked it up. I don't know the facts. So could that fish be in my reef tank? Probably not. I'm going to assume no. And if she was still here to this day, we would probably have another tank here in the house, and you would have that lemon peel in there along with her little gobies and other cool things, pistol shrimp and things that she loved. But when people say, oh, I really like flame angel, but it's 50-50, it's like, yes, 50% of flame angels will not do any harm in your tank, and 50% will nibble on everything. And so you have to decide, is it even worth the risk? Or would you be better off with something like a potter's angel or a coral beauty? Because those are less likely to nip at a coral. I've been watching this forest fire digitata in the front of my tank, and I have one in the back too. So there's one, my finger is right in front, right there. Then I have this one in the front. This one looks like it's closed up all the time, and that one looks all fluffy and happy, but I never see the coral beauty go near it. So I don't know what's happening with that one coral. Now, it's alive, it's colorful, but it's not polyped out. And I have not been able to ascertain what's going on. So if you see something while I'm talking, tell me. I'll probably have to move over a little bit. Ryan wants me to give him my tank as a gift. Dude, you having a baby? You're going to have no time for tanks. You're going to be like, when did I sleep last? I don't remember what sleep is like. I heard it's good stuff. That's a great suggestion, Terry. I wonder if they have any. Like I said, I was trying to really understand what it's like to do the job itself, because I have so many questions. I am a recreational diver, and I don't go there for anything but pictures. And for me to even consider chasing something under the ocean to capture it, I don't know how I would do it. I literally don't. So I would love to know more about what it's like and the process and how it all works. And I'd also like to know what they're doing these days to help get their permits back to allow them to go back to fishing again. Terry says captive breeding and coral aquaculture is the future of the hobby. That does seem to be the case, but they are not able to captive breed every kind of fish. That's the thing. There's certain fish we just can't do. We haven't even figured out yet. And so it's funny, there's a whole bunch of little tiny fish, and I always tease Matt Peterson, and I tell him, can't you just breed something pretty? You keep breeding these little brown fish. It's like, what is this? Some kind of freshwater joke? I mean, come on, give us some good fish. By the way, I'm itching like crazy because of the hydrocodone, so sorry about that. There was a breeder in Hawaii years ago that was known for, or had cracked the code for making the Interruptus angelfish, which number one is reef safe, and number two is beautiful as a juvenile, just gorgeous fish. And the person did it for a while, and I found out about it too late. And by the time I learned about this fish, that person was no longer breeding the fish. And that's one I've always wanted to get. So maybe one day. And the thing is, I want a tiny one. But now you can't get any fish out of Hawaii. That cancels that dream entirely. Derek, are you in Hawaii somewhere? He said, unfortunately, it's very difficult to breed fish in Hawaii and impossible to raise coral. We can't keep coral in Hawaii, and we can't ship in live foods for raising fish. And he says he's breeding clownfish. He also needs to hatch rotifers from cysts and collect phyto from the ocean? Really? Wow. I know there's certain things that you cannot do in Hawaii, but that was some of the things I wanted to ask Kim. Like, she said she's a hobbyist. And so I wanted to know, because they are fishermen, can they just pretty much find whatever fish they like and put it in an aquarium? And the one thing she did tell me last night was that they have no live rock. You literally cannot take any rock from the ocean and put it in. And so then, I was thinking, well, I guess then she has to basically bring in Marco rock, which is dry rock, to actually put in the aquarium, so it's not just a box of water with some sand. And I did ask, well, what kind of invertebrates can you get? Can you get a Hawaiian feather duster, for example, And I wanted to find out more. I know you can get things like urchins and so forth. But yeah, I mean, for yourself. There's certain things in Hawaii you absolutely cannot do, but I believe there are certain, and that's what I wanted to discuss with her, and I'll try and get some answers. What you can literally take as a person that went into the ocean, found something, and brought it home to put in their little box of water. And then I guess they would get water from the shore and do their water changes that way. Aquaball says, hit the like button, guys. If you find the show, give it some love. And I think that's really nice of you. And then Bill says, I should eventually set up a tank for Caitlin. And you know, you're not wrong. I've been kind of resisting the urge to set up a new another tank that needs attention. Trying to, you know, there's only so many hours in the day and there's one of me. So, but I like the idea. John says, 4 kids later, I do my water changes at 2 a.m. on Friday nights. For a few years, there was no water changes. Just keep it running. I wouldn't change it for the world, and now they help out. That's great. Actually, there was a funny meme someone shared yesterday where it was a picture of Will Ferrell, and the meme said, you're going to do a water change right now? It's 11 p.m. And it looked like he was opening a beer, but it said Seachem Prime on the jar. And I thought that was really funny. I was like, yes, it's 11 p.m. I'm doing my water change. It's a Friday night. That's what parents do. Once the kids are, I mean, my own son will say, I can't get anything done until my grandson goes to bed. And so I'll call him like 8:30 at night. And he's like, no, I haven't had my dinner yet. You know, we're still waiting for him to go to sleep. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I didn't do that with my kid. We had dinner and then he just went to bed when he went to bed. I didn't have him have a dinner first and then I had mine later. But these days, I have been having my dinner after the aquarium and after Jack eats. I then get around to feeding me. It seems I have so much to do every single evening. Aquaball says, I got 5 scissortail dartfish yesterday. I'm in love with them. It's in my 22-gallon reef tank. They are not schooling, by the way. He says they school so nice. So what they're doing is they're shoaling. And shoaling means they're still in a group. But schooling, and this is interesting that a lot of people don't know, schooling is when all the fish are equidistant from each other at all times. And you do see that in nature. But in our aquariums, they may be in clusters. That's called shoaling. The bearded guppy says, are anyone else's tiger pistol shrimp petty thieves? Anything they touch and my sand is gone by the next morning. Yeah, they do that. They're decorating their little cave and they're moving things and hiding things. And sometimes your fish will move things as well. Hippotangs do that. And Reef with Me says, dropping by to say hi. It's baby girl's first birthday, so it's a busy one. Happy birthday. That is awesome. All right. Sorry again that the live stream didn't go as planned. That's okay. We'll figure it out. I guess I'm just going to wrap it up here, and because I didn't come with a topic in mind, and I don't want to just riff and fill your hour for no reason whatsoever. I continue to share things through the Reef Diary each day, and we do our live streams on Saturdays. And I do have some other videos I'll be uploading shortly, so that's coming up. But I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and replane Minion today. And what that means is the sheet that the acrylic is cut on. Yesterday I ran a project that kind of chewed up my table a whole bunch. And I just planed it so it was completely smooth. And the bit just did all kinds of damage. So now I have to plane it again. And it's already after 3 o'clock here. So I'm going to go ahead and plane it and get a few more things cut out today so I can get some more customer orders